So what you are seeing here is my three main setups that I have constantly going all the time. And you notice this one is super dirty, so this one kind of needs a lot of cleaning. This is my bout wheels, which is set up, but I'm just going to take it apart and I'm going to show you what I have inside as a setup. And then I have another pair of speed wheels here, my Jukes. I use this oil. This is called Zoom Spout Oiler. You find this here in Tucson near the swamp cooler section of Home Depot. Nobody knows what the heck you're talking about, but if you say bearing oil that is clear and it has this little tube that comes out, this is way cheaper than getting oil like Speed Cream or something for your bearings. Speed Cream is really good, but some of us can't afford this all the time, and sometimes we're doing a lot of wheels all at once, so you might want to invest in this. This is probably like $3 or so. It will last for months and months and months. Do not use WD-40 on your skates because they'll attract dust and mud and gross, and it will get rusty and nasty, and well, probably not rusty, but it'll probably seize up your bearings quicker with sand, grease, things like that you use on your car is probably not good either. One time I used PB Blaster because my bearings were rusted, and it kind of worked for a while, but I think it kind of melted away some of the plastic inside my bearing, so it's not a good idea. So to use your bearing press, that's what this is. This comes open like that, and the wheel fits on here. And you take it apart using this little screw on the end. I'm going to take this one apart. It seems to be like falling apart anyways. Put it down on here and press and pull. And there you go. On the inside of my wheel, I have this kind of spacer, which I like. This is brand new. This doesn't seem to slide around as much. I like that. And you can see that I use some Bones Reds. That's what I kind of like a lot. And you're going to pull out the other side like so, and all the wheel is apart. Now this bearing I'm not going to clean very much because it's already clean, but you can see that it is one of my favorite kinds. To put your wheel back together, whoops, other way around. Bearing, spacer, wheel face down, and bearing facing down, and then you go in and press it together, and voila, wheel back together. If you don't have this, you can use your skates to take apart your wheel. What you want to do is take your wheel, put it on the axle of your truck, and wiggle it around a little bit until it pops apart, just like so. This bearing is a little bit dirtier, so I'll just wipe it off. And I have this kind of spacer. This is like, you know, these are pretty good. These usually come for free with your bearings sometimes. I found that I use spacers because it gives a good sturdy wheelbase inside of my skates. And then of course you would do the same thing on the other side of the bearing. Pop it out, and there you go. All out. These ones also are Bones Reds. I like them. And when I want to put it back together, say I didn't have the press, I would just, first of all, I would just kind of push them in with my finger, like as hard as I could. And then I put the spacer in, make sure that it's straight, and then put the other bearing on top of that, And sometimes it'll go in easily and sometimes it won't. You can kind of press it down on the table or on the floor, and that will give you your skate back together. Now this wheel, these are my street wheels. This is nice and dirty, so I can show you. I'm going to take this bearing completely apart and show you what that looks like. And to make it a little quicker, I'm just going to use my bearing press here. And again, make sure you don't lose your spacer if you have one. Usually comes out pretty easy. There we go. Alright, so that's really dirty. And what I'll do is I'll take some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, put some on a cloth, a rag here, and I'll clean out the inside of the wheel, take some of the dirt off to start. This is your chance to get your wheels to look all shiny and nice. And then I will wipe the dirt off my bearing on both sides. And at this point you can decide, oh, do I need to clean it even further or do I need to take it apart? I'm going to show you how to take it apart so you can do this successfully. There is an outside ring here, sometimes on both sides of the bearing. In this case, I am going to just take it off the outside. If you take the ring off of both sides, you're going to have some problems. Maybe the bearings will fall out of the race altogether. But to get this apart, I have a dental tool here, and I just carefully put it inside the bearing on the inside of the ring here. I have a couple different sizes in case it doesn't quite fit. You also might want to use a little flathead screwdriver for, you know, like the kind that you use for your glasses. That works better. Okay, so popped off this ring here, and it allows you to see how dirty it is on the inside of your bearings. You can see closer. What you might want to do is flush it out with some rubbing alcohol, and I'll just kind of put some on there and spin it around. That gets it nice and clean. You can also go in there with your dental pick and kind of scoop out some of the dirt that might be in there, and make sure that it's spinning freely, nicely. If you press too hard on this stuff, it will fall apart, and then you'll have to like realign these little bearings into the plastic guide that's in here. I would avoid that if you can. You just want it to be able to spin freely so you get all of the dirt out there. And then once you have this all clean, no dirt, you're going to put a couple more drops of oil back in. Make sure that's completely dry, and I usually put 2 or 3 drops all the way around, and give it a good spin, and that's all oiled. You can put the outer race back on just by pressing it in, and make sure that it's in there good, and you can give it another spin. Make sure it's spinning well. Seems to be good. And you can see that all the dirt is out of here. It used to be kind of black inside, but now it's not. Alright, one last thing before you put it back together. You want to wipe off the excess oil and make sure that it's not dripping oil out of it, because that getting oil on the outside of your wheels is going to make your wheels very slippery. So just usually clean. Okay, so here's an example of this has an outer race on both sides. These are not Bones Reds. They are probably some Abex or some kind of other brands, but they seem to be spinning okay, so I'm not going to take those apart. I'm just going to put it back together for us, so I can show you putting back together my skate and see how that works. Okay, so again, bearing press. I put the inside bearing facing up. Then I put my spacer onto there. Then I put the wheel facing down on here. And then I put this other bearing on the top. Close it and press. And voila, have a new skatable wheel all ready to go. And nice and clean. I'm just going to dust off the other one I have here so we can put my skates back together. Before I put these back together, I'm just going to wipe the dust off a little bit. We'll talk about trucks a little bit. If you have to adjust this part here, this is the truck, you only want to do a half turn at a time. And that is sort of like this. One turn, half turn, and then you want to try it to make sure your carving is looser or tighter depending on how you want it. You never want to screw down or unscrew this truck too much because you want them equally adjusted at any given time so you can turn better. And we'll put the wheel back on. Inside of the wheel goes on like so. If it's getting stuck with the spacer, it won't go down all the way. Give it a spin and then push it down. Usually it goes right on. I put my lock nut in, screw it down. Usually what I do is I tighten it all the way and then half a turn and check if it spins. You notice it spins pretty well because that's nice clean bearing in there. Very good. That's what you want. And when you spin it, you really don't want to hear this happening very much. If you hear it, it means it probably has some dust that needs to get cleaned out. I say that's pretty decent. I'll put this other wheel back on too. Give it a spin. That one's pretty quiet. That one's very clean. I usually take a part of my bearings probably like fully once a year, clean out all the dirt, because you can use these bearings for quite a long time before you have to replace them. But I like to have a whole jar full any given time so I can have some clean ones and some dirty ones and switch them out if I need to. That's pretty good right there. With your toe stop, you can see this toe stop here is very worn down. I'm not going to change it right now because I want to use it until I can't use it anymore. It's probably not safe, but I'm just trying to be thrifty here. See, this toe stop is a little bit thicker. This is going to last me a while. I have another set, but I'm not going to change them right now. But when you're adjusting your toe stop, what you want to do is you want your skate to be like so, and you want to be able to fit your fingers, like 3 fingers underneath is probably a good adjustment back here. You can play around with that. Having it low like that allows you to get up on your toe stops easier. I also use gumball toe stops because they're a little bit bigger and a little bit squishier. Gives you a lot of support for standing on your toes. These are long stems. If you do trick skating, you probably want something on a shorter stem. You want to raise it up a little bit to get it out of the way. You have to see which style of skating you want to do with these. I have a lot of duct tape protecting a lot of stitches. I'm trying to keep my skates around as long as I possibly can. However, this layers of duct tape eventually gets pretty heavy and I have to peel it off and start over. One thing I had happen to me in the beginning when I was tightening down my toe stop, I stripped the threads on the inside of my skate so that I could no longer take my toe stop off. You have to be very careful when you're using your skate tool to tighten these down. You don't want to go too far or too loose. Too loose, your toe stop falls off. Too hard, you're going to strip out the threading inside of your skates, and it could be a very pricey fix, or it can't be fixed at all, and you might need new skates after that. I've had my toe stop was stuck for an entire season, and I just wore out the skates and then said, okay, this is just how high my toe stops are going to be for an entire year. And that was not fun. I like to be able to adjust as needed. This is much better to not strip out your toe stop area.